Hi everyone, a very warm welcome to this Jury Sisters channel. This is Vidyashri here. Hope you all are having a lovely day. Today's topic for discussion is general exceptions under IPC. This is the part 2 of this series. This is the second video of the series of law of crimes in India. So please go and watch the first video before proceeding with this part. Let us begin. I have divided two division of sessions to deal with this general exceptions. This is the first session dealing with general exceptions under which I am going to deal with mistake of fact, accident, incapability under three categories and judicial acts and necessity. The first exemption is that mistake of fact under section 76. So according to this section of Indian Penal Code, which gives the immunity for the acts of the person who is firstly bound by law and secondly done in a good faith and thirdly by reason of mistake of fact and fourth most importantly mistake of law cannot be entertained as a defense under any penal provisions because it is a very well established principle of law is ignorance of law is not an excuse at all, which has been told in a Latin maxim, ignorantia juris non excusat, which can be explained through one illustration is that a soldier fires on a mob by the order of a superior officer in conformity with the commands of law will not be liable because he is not only bound by law to do it but also justified by law to perform the act. According to Section 79 of IPC deals with the legal justification, exempts the accused person from the criminal liability in respect of the acts of a person justified or feels or believing himself to be justified by law, which can be explained through one illustration. A sees Z commit what appears to A to be a murder. A, in the exercise to the best of his judgment, exerted in good faith of the power which the law gives to all the persons of apprehending murderers in the fact, seizes Z in order to bring Z before the proper authorities. A has committed no offences, though it may turn out that Z was acting in self-defense. So, on the whole, to be well understood of these two sections, Section 76 excuses a person from the criminal liability who is bound by the law to do something and has done it, or who is in good faith owing to a mistake of fact, believes that he is bound by law to do something and does it. Whereas Section 79 totally absolves a person who believes by reason of mistake of fact and not by the reason of mistake of law in good faith that his act would be justified by law. So the purpose of these two sections is thus to provide protection from the conviction to the persons who are bound by law or justified by law in doing a particular act but due to the mistake of fact in good faith committed an offenses. The next exception is accident or misfortune. According to Section 80, exempts a person from liability if the act is done accidentally by misfortune without any criminal intention or knowledge. That accident occurs while doing a lawful act in a lawful manner and by a lawful means wherein due care and caution is exercised. So it exempts the doer of an innocent or the lawful act in an innocent and lawful manner from any unforeseen result that may ensue from the accident or misfortune. So the three ingredients which need to be satisfied for this provisions or to avail the protection or immunity with this provision is that firstly the act was a mere accident or misfortune and secondly the act was not accompanied by any criminal intention or knowledge and thirdly it was an outcome of lawful act done in a lawful manner by lawful means and fourthly it was done with the proper care and caution. If either of these elements are wanting, the act will not be excused on the ground of the accident. This is the relevant case for the accident or for the provision under section 80 of general exceptions. Is Bhupendra Sinha Chaunda Sama versus State of Gujarat, which held that when the accused shoots his own colleague at a close range without knowing the identity of the target, this act reflects utter lack of care and caution, and hence the benefit under section 80 will not be available to him. The three categories under which the exemption of incapability lies: infancy under section 82 and 83, insanity under section 84, and intoxication under section 85 and 86. Section 82 of Chapter 4 under Indian Penal Code says that nothing is an offence which is done by a child under 7 years of age and absolutely excluded from any criminal liability. This exception is based on a maxim called doli in capex. So it is presumed that a child below 7 years is doli in capex, which is mean he is incapable of committing a crime and cannot be guilty of any offences. This presumption emanates from the recognition of the fact that he lacks the adequate mental ability to understand the nature and consequences of his act, and thereby an ability to form the required mens rea. So this presumption therefore cannot be rebutted by adducing evidences that child had a capacity of understanding the consequences of this act. So this section 82 totally absolves a child below 7 years of age from the criminal liability. Under Section 83 of Chapter 4 of Indian Penal Code says that the act of the child above 7 years but below 12 years of age has the qualified immunity as doli capex, which means capable of committing a crime depending upon his maturity of understanding. But this presumption is rebuttable. Why? Because it can be rebutted by proof of mischievous discretion of the child. The liability of such a child depends upon his maturity of understanding of the nature and the consequences of his act, but not on his age. Let me explain it through one illustration. A 9-year-old boy threatens his uncle that he will kill him with knife. In this case, he knows the nature of the act when he holds the knife, the consequences through which, if he stabs him with the knife, it would result in the death of his uncle. So the next exception would be insanity, being one of the exception to escape from the criminal liability under section 84 of Indian Penal Code, which says that act of a person of unsound mind. Nothing is an offense which is done by a person who at the time of doing it by the reason of unsoundness of mind is incapable of knowing the nature of the act, or that he is doing what is either wrong or contrary to the law. So the three things which you need to satisfy when you are claiming the immunity under this provision is that exemption from criminal liability in respect of the act of a person of unsoundness of mind, or he must be incapable of knowing the nature of the act, or he must be incapable of understanding the act which is wrong or contrary to the law. The justification for providing unsoundness of mind as a complete defense is that an insane person is incapable of forming criminal intent. Further, a madman has no will at all, according to the maxim furiosus nulla voluntas est, and he is like one who is absent. Furiosus absentis lo est. In fact, a madman is punished by his own madness according to the Latin maxim furiosus furori seu punitur. The foundation for the law of insanity was laid down by the House of Lords in 1843 in what is popularly known as M. Norton's case. The accused, by the name of Daniel M. Norton, suffered from a delusion which is known as mental incapability that Sir Robert Peel, the then Prime Minister of Britain, had injured him. He mistook Edward Drummond the secretary to the Prime Minister for Sir Robert Peel, he shot and killed him. The accused took the plea of insanity. The medical evidences showed that M. Norton was laboring under a morbid delusion which carried him away beyond the power of his own control. It was held to be not guilty by reason of insanity by the jury. However, his acquittal caused the public excitement and considerable furor. The verdict was made a subject of debate in the House of Lords. In consequences of it, the main principles were enunciated by the House of Lords in reply to those questions of hearing the case. The three main principle was that every person is presumed to be sane and to possesses a sufficient degree of reason to be responsible of his crime until the contrary is established. And the second principle is that to establish the defense of insanity, it must be clearly proved that at the time of committing the crime, the person was so insane as need to know the nature and the quality of the act he was doing. Or if he did know it, he did not know that what he was doing was wrong. The third principle was that the test of wrongfulness of the act is in the power to distinguish between right and wrong, not in the abstract or in general, but in regard to a particular act committed. So this section 84 of IPC more or less embodies the sole three principles which is laid out in the M. Norton's rules. The next exemption is that under section 85 and 86 of Indian Penal Code talks about the act of a person incapable of judgment by reason of intoxication caused against his will. Under section 86, offense requiring a particular intent or knowledge committed by one who is intoxicated. So in this case, the act done is not an offense unless done with a particular knowledge or intent. A person who does the act in the state of intoxication shall be liable to be dealt with the as if he had the same knowledge as he would have had if he had not been intoxicated, unless the thing which is intoxicated him was administered to him through without his knowledge or against his will. The expression without his knowledge means that the person concerned is ignorant of the fact that what is consumed by him is an intoxicant or is mixed with an intoxicant. The word against his will means that a person was forced or coerced or duress into consuming an intoxicant. So, Section 86 deals with the immunity of a self-intoxicated person when he commits an offense requiring particular knowledge or intention. So, as a definitional ingredient of this provision on the part of the accused, it provides that if an offense requiring such a knowledge or the intention is committed by a self-induced intoxicated person, only knowledge but not the intention of the offenses on his part will be presumed the most. Let me explain you one interesting case law which is related to the intoxication provision of general exception. In Basdev versus State of Pepsu, a retired military officer was charged with the murder of a young boy aged about 15 years. Both of them and others of the same village attended a marriage party and all of them went to the house of the bride to take the midday meal. Some had settled down in their seats and some had not. The retired officer, who was very drunk and intoxicated, asked the young boy to step aside a little so that he could occupy a convenient seat. But when he did not move, the officer whipped out a pistol and shot the boy in the abdomen. The injury proved fatal, and the evidence showed that the accused sometimes staggered and was incoherent in his talk. But it also showed that he was capable of walking independently and talking coherently as well with others in the marriage party. The evidence proved that he came on his own to the house of the bride and he made the choice of his own seat and after injuring the deceased. In went to prove that there was no proved incapacity of the accused to form the intention to cause bodily injury sufficient in the ordinary course of the nature to cause death. So it is to be proved that he intended to inflict bodily injuries on the deceased, and bodily injuries so intended to be inflicted and was sufficient in the ordinary course of the nature to cause death. The accused was found guilty of the murder in this case. The next exception is that necessity under section 81. So this is the section which provides the protection to the accused person against the criminal liability for the act done to avoid the other harm. So this section embodies the principle that where the accused chooses lesser evil in order to avoid the bigger, then he is immune. The genesis is based on the two legal maxims called quid necessitas non habet legum, which means necessities knows no law, and the necessities vincit legum, which means the necessities overcome the law. So this section recognizes the doctrine of necessity as a defense against the criminal liability. So necessity in the legal context involves the judgment that the evil of obeying the letter of law is socially greater in the particular circumstances than the evil of breaking it. To be very simple, the law has to be broken to achieve a greater good, which has to be explained through one illustration is that it is seen that a captain of the ship, when confronted with the option of running down a ship with 20 or 30 passengers or a small boat with 2 passengers, then his option to run down the smaller boat is protected under this section. So this case in United States versus Home is quite relevant to the necessities, the doctrine of necessity or the necessity as a reason for homicide. In this case, the accused was a member of the crew of the boat after a shipwreck. Fearing that the boat would sink, he, under the orders of the mate, threw 16 male passengers overboard. The accused, though not convicted for the murder, was convicted for the manslaughter and sentenced to 6 months imprisonment with hard labor. Another deadly case law which I wanted to share with you people is that R versus Dudley and Stephens. In this case, the crew of Yacht Megronte were cast away in the storm and were compelled to put into an open boat which had no water or food at all. On the 20th day, having had nothing to eat for 8 days and being 1,000 miles away from the land, two of the crew, that is, Dudley and Stephens, agreed that the cabin boy, who was likely to die first, should be killed to feed themselves upon his body, and one of them carried out the plan. The men ate his flesh and drank his blood for 4 days. They were then rescued by the passing vessel and were subsequently charged with the murder. And the jury returned a special verdict in this case. And it was held by the divisional court of 5 judges, which held that the act was the murder and awarded them the sentence of death. And however, this death sentence was computed by the crown to 6 months imprisonment. And the principle that can be detected from the Dudley versus and Stephenson's are self-preservation is not an absolute necessity, and no person has a right to take another's life to preserve his own, and there is no necessity that justifies homicide. I will be dealing with other general exceptions in my next video of the series of law of crimes. So please don't miss it, guys. Please be connected with this. Those who have not subscribed to my channel, Jurist Sisters, please do it right now. And please do like, comment and share this video to everyone of your friends and family. And also, please give me the feedback then and there so that I can improve myself in many ways, so that I can upload many videos which will be in favor of you. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.